I would like to begin by saying Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is my traditional way of honoring my own identity, who I am, what are my roots, but also saying Shukran Lillah Alhamdulillah, which means just expressing my gratitude for everything that I have been given. And my teacher is here, my colleagues are here, and the foundation is here. I am very, very grateful for all the support that you have provided. And also grateful to the land, to the First Nation people who have contributed so much to this space and made this space, sacred space for us, where we are here united and talking about sacred. So let's begin our journey with this Bismillah and Shukranillah, our gratitude, and starting with good energies to have a bit of conversation. Okay. Let's begin. Okay, so today, as you know the title of my talk, I will be talking about a Pakistani traditional calligrapher artist. And I will be giving you a little bit of foundation first before I going into his biography and talking about sacred and art, so that everyone is aware about what I'm talking about and what this is. So we are really moving to a different world. Since this morning, we have been talking so much about Christianity and all sorts of art and spirituality and religion. I'm going to give you a very different flavor from Muslim culture. So setting the stage, first step, Quran is the sacred word of God. Muslim considered is as the word of God, divinely revealed. And this is one of the most important aspects for everyone, particularly in Muslim culture, and it participates in everyday life. So key concepts. I would like to talk about few key concepts that are important to understand Rasheed's work. So the picture that you are here seeing, it's the word called aql. Aql means intellect, literal translation. But intellect does not mean just as a noun, but it's a verb. The way Arabic works is all the root words are of 3 letters, and they are verbal words. So aql is to reason, to know, to recognize, to experience. And this aql, this intellect, intellectual engagement, it goes beyond reasoning. It's not only human faculty of reasoning, but it is also something that distinguishes between humans and non-humans. And it has more qualities to it. And that's what I think the sacred element comes in, that it's not only reasoning, it has some sacrality to it. Another word that I would like to draw attention to is iman, faith. We are talking about belief. Again, it's a verbal noun. So to believe something, to have faith, or to recognize something or to appreciate something. So it's basically whoever is exploring these words is actively engaging. This is just the nature of language. The third word that we have been talking about, aesthetics, and we have been hearing the words pleasure and beauty and uniformity. From a Muslim perspective, I would like to use this word jamaliya, which is not only exterior beauty or exterior harmony or balance, but it also encompasses how one feels and one experiences the sacred within themselves. So what I'm trying to say is that Jamaliyat is very much connected to ethics. So beauty is not only physical beauty or pleasure, it is connected to how one behaves and how one being in the world. So these are just my basic concept, and I will talk about a little bit more when I give the examples. So aql, and I will talk about this word tahqiq a little bit more when I go into examples. So my research inquiry framework, I'm not going to go in so much detail, but I just want to mention that I am coming from an art historical background, but I do acknowledge that there are other disciplines and there is so much overlap. So I do draw inspirations from cultural studies, from anthropology, and art historical sources. So this is all my toolbox that I'm using. And I'm going to try to show you, and this lens, as I show some colors here, it's not one color. It has different spectrums. I think it's important for me to mention my own position in this work here. I, as a researcher, have fortunately visited Pakistan and have spoken to these artists in person, have studied their work, had conversations digitally as well as in person. I am an insider, meaning I am a person of faith. I am originally from Pakistan, and I'm also an outsider, being a person, a student, a learner, living in UK, England, and also living here, and have been stayed outside my own country. So I have been experiencing Pakistan from outside as well. Also, not only looking at this work from scholarly perspective, but also looking as a practitioner of art. So Arabic language is so much similar with the Urdu script. So I do know the Urdu script letters, and I can write Arabic, and sometimes I just do as my hobby. So I do practice what these people are doing. So I do practice calligraphy. So what I'm trying to say is that there is insider world and there is an outsider world, and I work somewhere in between and always try to find that balance, that harmony, that I'm doing justice to both of my worlds. So with this understanding, I'll take you to Pakistan. This is just a map, as you can see, and I'm going to point out the artist that I'm talking about today lives somewhere here in Islamabad. He is well-known traditional calligrapher, and he is internationally renowned. He has exhibited his work at several international exhibition spaces, as well as sacred spaces, like, for example, church. And I traveled for my research all over. So I have some data all over, but I will be just focusing here in this region where this orange star is. Okay, so this is Ustad Rasheed Butt. And I just want, if you feel overwhelmed with my presentation, I want you to take these three things with you. That Rasheed work with inquiry-based methodology. He is very contemplative and believes in experiential art. And he does research in thematic ways, and he is curious and find ways to connect things. And this golden thing, this is his signature. I just added to add a little accent here, that this is, he's talking about his work. And as I said, these are the three main characteristics that I will be talking about in today's presentation. So let's start with his studio. This is a studio in the basement of his house. As you can see, these are traditional wooden reed pen, which are also called qalam, and there are so many. And you can also see other tools like ink pot. And here you see, this is the pen, if you see. These pens can be cut on many, many angles. So he creates his own pens and dip into the ink and work as 1400 years calligrapher would have worked. So this is just my little bit impression of tools. This is the work that he creates. And I show this picture particularly, and you may have seen many images of Quranic manuscripts, and people use golden so much. And when we are talking about sacred, gold leaves are expensive material that can be used. The way in history people or artists, calligraphers work was to write with the qalam, then make the outline and fill around it and then fill golden in it. And the technology or the format they used, the technique they used, was not allowing calligraphers to find the crisp in the text. So here you see these strong strokes, which are very clear and neat. So this is his experimentation, because of which he's able to get this result. So he's not only engaging with the content, but also engaging with the technique and the medium that he is using, and trying to create work which is not only imitation, but also taking it beyond it. So when I was using the word aql, which means intellect, the opposite of aql is naql, which means to copy something or to imitate something. So calligraphers, as a tradition, there are many, many scripts that have been created in last 1500 years, and people copy them. And they are meticulously geometrical, symmetrical, and it's a very tedious and difficult skill to gain. So what he is doing, he is thinking always that if I'm imitating this, how I am doing it and how I can improve it. So he is trying to move from naql to aql, from imitation to intellectual engagement, and how he can progress the work. So this is one of the examples that he showed me, that this technique he developed where he used gold and does directly on gold, that gives a very crisp and sharpness to the text, which we were unable to get in past years. The second work I'm showing here, this is called Allah, and there is a roundel on top. And if you have some understanding of Sufism, we know that the text, the word Allah is used for zikr, means remembrance in religious setting or in spiritual circles. And they do a chant like Allahu, and the hu is take you into the trance. So he uses this roundel. And again, here you see, he is writing a text on gold. So he's reversing this technique, using gold as a background, and it is very difficult to write on the gold where you can see the text. And he's using the qalam, that wooden reef pen, traditional wooden reef pen. One more thing is important to mention here, that if you make a mistake, this piece is going to be thrown away. So this is really daring effort to do. Not many people does that, because if you make a simple error with the case marking, the meaning changes. And since this is a sacred text, this is not allowed, and you just have to get rid of that piece. So, and this illumination, in history we have seen that calligraphers and scribes would work together, and the illuminator would work together. He's one of those people who can do illumination as well, and who can do calligraphy as well. And by the way, he had no traditional teachers, because in the post-partition time, when he was born in 1944, and Pakistan and India were colonized Indo-Pak. In 1947, the partition happened. And when he grew up, the tradition of Quranic calligraphy was already disrupted. So there were not so many ustad, not so many teachers who could teach traditional calligraphy. The tools were gone already, and people started to use oil paints and brushes, copying the European ways of making art. So he has to do a lot of work to find teachers, to find books, and those books were not available in Pakistan. So he would travel to Turkey, to Iran, to Middle East, and get that books and just learn from reading and questioning. This is the work which is, I'm placing it in that thematic category. This is from a chapter, Surah Rahman. This is one of the recent works, created in 2024. He calls this piece the piece of Rahman. Rahman means most compassionate, most merciful. And what he does is, this is a piece designed for the wall, but he uses the manuscript facing pages format to create this piece. On the right-hand side, you see the entire surah written, the entire chapter of Surah Rahman. In this chapter, interestingly, one verse, which reads, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, is repeated many times. So from artistic, creative perspective, instead of writing that verse multiple times, he came up with this idea to write that verse in a way that This line, if it ends here, then the reader has to read that line, which is the refrain. So what he's doing here for his viewers or for his users, that you need to be mindful of what you are doing. So he's doing his own critical inquiry, but he's also expecting his viewers to use imagination as well as intellectual engagement if they want to understand the piece. So it's not a simple piece that any person can understand it. Also, he's using different styles. So for example, this one is a Kufic style, and here he uses Nastaliq style. So you should have that ability to read different scripts as well. On the left-hand side, where you see all these verses, he opens the Quran, goes page by page, and looks for verses that has a Rahman word in it. And then he selects them, and then he uses the space to add all of these. And as you can see, all the Al-Rahman words are written in gold. So he's changing the pen, he's using different colors, he's using different technique. He's really pushing the boundaries of creating this sacred art. Okay, this is a poetry, a small quadrant from Sadi. Again, if you see this work, it looks very simple, but it's like a maze. So for Arabic language, you may know that the sequence it reads from right to left, not like English. So a reader or a viewer can start from here to there, but he manipulates with that, and he uses a maze effect. So the poetry starts from here and goes in this direction. He uses text here, and you can see the text here flipped, which means you have to move around it and also use your full concentration to read what is written here. So this is the name of the poet, Sheikh Sadi Shirazi. And also, I asked him, why did he write this particular poetry? And he gave me a complete story behind what inspired him and how this poetry was revealed in the dream of Sheikh Sadi. So he's not only writing the text, he is understanding what is written, the content, the historical background, and where and how this text was written. So he's really deeply engaging on intellectual level, on deeper level to understand and create these pieces. So as I said, he's using intellectual engagement, which I called tehqiq in my work. Tehqiq is coming from a root word haq, which means truth. So basically, intellectual engagement or tehqiq or the use of aql is to find haq, to find the truth, to seek the truth. And this is what he's doing through his artistic endeavors. So I'm going to show you an example of Hulya. Hulya is basically a portrait of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In many Muslim cultures, some people do not like to draw, and there are no images for Prophet Muhammad in popular culture. And people use literary texts and images, textual images, to do the portrait of Prophet Muhammad. So there is a format I'll show you here. So this is Rasheed Butt's design. And I'm going to show you a very quick breakdown of what's in here. So one is the Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As you see, these 8, 9, 10, 11 boxes, these are the names of Khulafai Rashidin, 4 rightly guided caliphs. And this is the salawat for the Prophet. This is the text which basically expresses how Prophet looked and how was his personality. But this is all written, this was a literary genre in 15th century. It developed in Ottoman time, and then it gained its popularity and became a visual genre as well. Here, a verse from the Quran, and then here he adds the poetry. So you can see there are 14 components. This, I'm using art historical framework to analyze this work. This was the old design created by a calligrapher called Hulya by calligrapher Hafiz Osman in Turkey. And this, after this design, it became standard. And whoever would like to make Hulya, they would use different colors or different techniques, but the graphical layout will be almost the same. So Rasheed Butt working, and he's asking, why is this the layout? Why I'm doing this? Where did this come from? And he would experiment. So he experimented with that, but I'm going to now show you a different design. He came up with this. So this is his new Hulya design, which he proposes, where you see in the center the name of Muhammad, the Salawat is written here, and all this text, the main text, there are many, many texts, but there are some that are really authorized. So he uses the text, this is authorized by Ali, and he wrote here his own name. So the name, and you can see the name of Khulafai Rashidin, the rightly guided caliphs, they are all gone, because this piece is not about them, it's about Prophet Muhammad. And he thinks that we don't need that. So from his creative practice, he's making those decisions that people would just follow, just imitate. But he moves from naql to aql, from imitation to intellectual engagement, and he makes his own brave choices. This is one of the pieces. Then he developed more, and he said, why one portraiture style? There has to be many. So then he came up with this circular idea using the imagery of sun. And the way he defined to me that this is the center and he's filling golden, these are the words that are coming out from the sun, is his names, Prophet Muhammad's name, that are given historically. And these, which are coming inside, these are the verses from the Quran that he has extracted. So another design of Hulya Sharif. This is the work that he calls his miraculous artwork. And it's interesting that although he exhibited this work of quite a few times in different spaces, internationally as well, but he didn't want to sell it. And the reason, he gave me the story behind it, but I'm going to really shorten this up for in interest of time. This is the word Allahu written in golden. And all these small verses that you see as lines, they are all text. And I'm going to show you the zoom picture here. You can see these red. These are all the words Allah. So when he started this piece, he wanted to make a piece that has all the verses from all the Quran that has word Allah. And he started this piece. He picked up the paper without planning. And as he was writing, and he was about quarter page in, and he thought, oh, there are about more than 3,000 verses, because he was just going page by page and collecting them. And he said, I chose the wrong paper. It's not going to fit in here. So he was challenged by his own work that you want to do this, you want to compile something, and it has to have some kind of criteria behind it. And now the criteria, he cannot fit it in. And then he left the piece, and then he sat with the piece, and he contemplated, and then he came up with the intention to use the word Allah, which has this case marking, which is Zamma, because there are different case marking. And then he selected the words that had that particular case marking and completed it. This piece took a long time to finish. It's a larger piece displayed in his living room. And he said this is a miraculous piece because when you are doing calligraphy, or even if you're just writing words, it is very difficult to maintain the letter consistency and the size when you are writing from the beginning to end. And especially when you are leaving this piece for many, many days. And the way the piece turned out, it seemed like it was written in one go. And that's why he called this piece as a miraculous piece, that all the geometry is just measured so exactly that it is humanly impossible to do that when you are doing it that many sitting, because every day your hand movement, your practice, everything changes. The work could have been improved or demoted, but it didn't happen. So therefore, he said this as a miraculous piece, and he don't want to sell it. Okay, I'm coming towards the end of my presentation. So I asked him, what is your contribution? How do you see this field of Quranic calligraphy? And he said to me that we have been working with the scripts, and people have done a lot of work in last 1500 years, and it is very difficult to supersede any master. But I still wanted to do something. There is a tradition, okay, I get it, but where is my contribution? Where is my flavor of it? So then he contemplated and he came up with this style, which is a development of a Kufic style. Kufic style was developed in 7th, 8th century by Ali in the area Kufa. So it's a very, very old way of writing. And he used Kufic style and played with geometry to create this script, which he calls illusion into reality and reality into illusion. When I saw this piece, and as a person who has spent at least 10, 15 years of my life reading and looking at Quranic pieces and Quranic art, honestly, I was unable to find any text in it. And I would go to his home and I would ask him, and he would say, no, I'm not telling you because it's your job to read it. So he would really create challenge for his viewers and people who would like to study, because he wants everyone to go onto that intellectual path on their own. So going back to our theme, that he's not prescribing anything. As we see, he's not working on prescribed methods. He innovate methods, he create new designs, and he expect the same from the viewers. And actually, he showed me the last day and I was going and I was still struggling. And I said, please, can you show me, Ustad? And he said, okay, I'll show you. And then he put his finger, and now I can see it, that this is Aleph, this is Noon. So when he showed me once, it just felt like this text is, or this style is both revealing and concealing at the same time. So for him, the sacred is the interplay of concealment and revelation, past and present and future, and working with tradition and innovation. And he's bringing that paradoxical nature into something which is very tangible. We can all experience it. So this is the work that he thinks that this is his contribution, a particularly new style that he has done. So now, I think I have 3 minutes for my work. Okay. I'm going to read this. I know you have read this and you have seen this, but I'm going to read this because I will be giving an invitation just after reading this. So we are exploring this art and the sacred. And Jeffrey Rubinoff says, art provides a means to experience the sacred beyond prescriptive narrative. We have seen so many narratives, and I think I'm also offering one of the narratives, and there are many, many, many. But the real sacred and the real art is something lies in the experience. So I would like to invite you to experience this. I have picked up an audio clip. It's only 74 seconds long. I invite you to take this piece of paper, simple piece of paper. I'm going to distribute this. Take a simple pen and pick a word, any word. You can pick your own name. For me, just for the sample, I picked the word salamun, which means peace. And I picked this because whatever is happening in the world right now, with Palestine, with bombing on Iran. So I'm just extending my desire to spread peace in the world and just remembering people who are in pain. So I chose this word. You can do the same word if you would like to honor those people who are at this point in a very difficult situation. If not, you can pick up joy. You can pick up any word, even your name. My invitation is, or if you don't want to put the name, if you don't want to work on the text, I also did some lines. And I'm going to pass this on so you can see. You can do spirals or lines. I'm giving you this choice. This is just an invitation. I expect that we take this 74 seconds and really tries to connect and tries to experience something which is not prescriptive. So I want you to listen to music, and music will only help you to go deeper inside you. 74 seconds, and we'll practice silence with presence. Let's try that. So I'll give you a cue when everyone has a paper. So everyone is invited to take a piece of paper. And we have some extra pens, if you like. If you can give me a thumbs up if you got the paper, then I will give the cue for the audio. Okay, Lee, audio please. Thank you so much for helping.
This is my way of giving you an opportunity to all of you to experience what sacred and art mean. It gives you something insanely set. Thank you so much. I welcome question.
Thank you, Ambreen, so much.
Thank you so much, Ambreen, and it's been such a journey, and I've been so privileged to walk on the path with you. So one of the things, you have 3 artists in your dissertation, and you want to talk and tell people about, you have Rasheed, and then you have Ambreen, who is doing kind of sculpture and Sufi, and then Muzammil, who's doing calligraphy, but also drawn towards satire. So I'm preparing you for your dissertation defense. How will you characterize Rasheed? I see him very much as post-partition, and he's creating a very specific kind of artistic expression. So what significance does he have as an artist for you?
Mm-hmm. So the 3 artists that I picked, and I think they are very interesting because they show contrasts. Rasheed Butt is a traditional calligrapher. For him, abiding to the tradition and writing using traditional tools are important. And playing with the script that are being there, experimenting with them and creating something new is important. Ambreen Gulji is not a calligrapher. He's a sculptor, and he has studied outside Pakistan. He doesn't even know Arabic language. And he has some understanding because he was born in that culture, but he doesn't call himself a calligrapher. My 3rd artist is a combination of these 2, something in between, who has learned traditional calligraphy as well as gone to modern kind of European art school. So he has that understanding of globalization and different media as well. So these 3 are very significant, particularly for Rasheed. I think the most important thing for him is tahqiq, is realizing the truth, verifying the truth through his artistic practice, and he does that by engaging intellectually with the text. When we talk about belief and faith, many people think that being religious, being faithful is just dumb. It's non-rational because something is said and you believe in it. Rasheed doesn't think that way. Rasheed thinks that if something is said, I need to find the evidence. It has to make sense to my brain in my present time that how does that work? And therefore he goes into contemplation and search for that truth through his artistic practice. So if someone says that it's day, he would not accept it. So his faith is not blind faith. He's a different kind of practitioner who uses intellectual engagement as one of the most important tools to practice his faith. I think that's the most significant thing for him. And he is a very different kind of faithful person. He does not want... In Pakistan, when scholars or when artists does this work, they get privilege in the society sometimes. People would come and kiss their hands. Rasheed would never allow that. He would not allow that because he would say, everyone has their own journey and I cannot help you in your own journey. You have to walk on your intellectual path on your own. As I am doing it, I can inspire you, but it's your job. Coming to me, asking me to pray for you will not solve the problem. You have to work on your own inner self. So I think that's what, it's very active approach to faith, active approach to engaging with sacred, and intellectually engaging and verifying and realizing things, not just reading and accepting it, but really verifying it from inner journey and contemplation. I hope that answers the question.
Sorry. Thank you for that, Ambreen. And I think like the question that I've got is tangential to that a little bit, because the thing that struck me is particularly looking at his, what do you call it, the magical piece, right? And I'm thinking a little bit too, like, I understand Chinese brush painting a little bit better than I understand this. But I mean, one of the things that's in there, and you talked about this, is the absolute certainty that you have to have in order to make your hand do what it's doing, because any mistake is irredeemable, right? And I think, so what, from my perspective and understanding, that, you know, that certainty and that truth of position is what's letting him do that. So do you think, like, are we seeing the artist's spiritual practice through the process of the work? So it's sort of the question you were asking earlier.
Absolutely.
Coming at this.
Yeah, absolutely. He also says that sometimes when I am sitting in my studio at 4 a.m. in the morning, and as I'm writing, I feel divine is looking at me. And he feels that. And he sometimes talk about, for example, the miraculous piece. He said that I don't want to sell it because when I created this piece, I have seen unlimited blessings coming onto me, showering on me. And I am grateful for that. So how can I sell my blessings? So which is something that only he can see. For him, it's like hidden, but very clear. And it's something related to feeling and practicing that art that he's practicing. It may not make sense to his daughter or to his son, who might be just saying, just sell it. But no, family is really supportive. His daughter is also learning illumination work. So he's getting old. He's training his daughter to do some work for illumination. And yeah, I think he definitely feels that.
Okay, thank you.
What about your playing? Just want to have context become support art as a result of the previous
Okay, so if you want to be a calligrapher in Pakistan, there is no certificate, because after the colonial powers, the way that it was disrupted, there are no schools, no ustad that could certify them. But if you are in Middle East, for example, if you are in Turkey, yes, there are ustad, and if you want to practice, you have to go through the training. The training is really tough, and it takes years and years. And then after a few years, when they see that, and there are scripts, so certification is given for each script or 3 script. It's depend on you or on the student, how many scripts they want to learn. And then it says ijaza. Ijaza means permission to practice calligraphy. And they could only do that when they have ijaza. So any calligrapher could only claim that person is a calligrapher if the ustad says and writes it down and gives the certificate. So in Pakistan, there was one ustad who was doing that, Ustad Khurshid Alam Gohar. Muzammil, my third artist in my dissertation, he learned calligraphy from Khurshid Alam Gohar, who is now passed away. But Muzammil has a permission, an ijaza, a certificate that he can practice as a calligrapher. But in Pakistan, there is no institutionalized system. And as far as I know, there was one ustad which has now passed away. There are other ustad, but there is no institution who would grant certificates or ijaza. But people do travel to Middle East to get that.
Yes.
Thank you. What do you have to say about sacredness and color when it comes to Rasheed?
Color?
Yes.
Okay. In calligraphy, it is very interesting that color does not matter. Ustad would say that the power of calligraphy and the way it is written, if it's just written on white paper with a black ink, it has that power of that geometrical symmetry and geometrical perfection that it would still inspire and speak to the viewer if they have sense or vision of seeing that. All this decoration, you can do that, but it's not needed. So many calligraphic competitions, when it comes to who is a good calligrapher, they don't do ornamentation. They make pieces, they are given pieces, and they are not allowed to make ornamentations because they are judged on their control of the pen and how they write it. Because when you are writing big letters, for example, and this is kalam, wooden reef pen, which has no cartridge of ink. So you have to dip. So when you dip, and then when you start, it has more ink in the beginning, and when it goes at the end, it has less ink. But when you see the work, it somehow looks balanced. So this is the skill of calligraphy that calligrapher needs to learn, where to stop, how to refill the ink, how to go in continuation of letters, that it brings that unity and geometry. So colors do not matter so much.
Okay, you must assume several Arabic words, mainly in gold and black.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly gold and black.
I
don't
think
know
it's just because gold is expensive material. In history, people used to use that indigo color. The blue Quran is one of the very popular pieces, which was, in that time, dyeing blue color was the most expensive thing. So we see that the sheet is dyed in golden, and then on that, the letters are written, the sheet are colored in blue, indigo blue, and letters are written with gold. So it's about whoever is commissioning the piece, they want it to be really meaningful and important. So therefore, they ask people to write it in golden.
Sorry. I also want just to add to this that I think golden has a way of bringing contrast to whatsoever color that is being used with it. I think that's one main reason for using gold too. It brings this contrast, so it can be eligible.
Yeah.
Whoever that is reading.
Yeah, and I think it also depends on who wants to use it. So for example, if an ustad writes something with just normal black and white color, for the student, that piece that ustad has written might be more treasuring than the one that he buys from outside with golden. So it's subjective, who is looking at it, and what is the meaning that that person draws. So again, sacred is not something that we can point out to. It's something that has agency in its own self.
last question of the. Oh, we've got two questions. There are two questions remaining today. Let's go back.
Go on, thank you. Yeah, I was just going to also add to what Angela asked, and you responded that gold represents divine, and green represents paradise. So each color has a meaning. Blue represents.
But artists create their own meaning as well. So again,
Yes.
I would not like to generalize it. You are right that many people in Muslim cultures, green color is used for prosperity and a favorite color for Prophet Muhammad, but it varies as well.
Yeah, definitely paradise. And I also wanted to add that Saadi that you pointed to is a Iranian poet.
Yes, yeah. And that was Persian poetry, yes.
Yeah, I like that. So prior to the British in India, the development of the music in India was done both by Muslim and Hindu culture together. So you often see both artists from both traditions working together.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was familiar with that term, ustad.
Ustad means teacher.
Yeah, and I've seen musicians get that.
Yes, yeah.
Same
Yeah,
thing.
it's a cultural term.
Yeah.
Master or teacher.
Yeah.
Guru, yeah.
I do understand that the calligraphy is really to do with the Quran and the way that's written. Is there any overlap in terms of historically that you could see any kind of connection between one tradition and another influencing each other?
Oh, yes, all the time. I
Yeah.
think the Blue Quran, for example, the one that I was just mentioning, is we have evidence and literature that was inspired by a Bible that was created by someone else. So, yes, there are always exchanges, and these exchanges shows that there were connections. And yes, artists from different cultures, different backgrounds work together to create the pieces.
Isn't the Mughal court got something? The old court.
Mughal court?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So Mughal court was very diversified. It has Hindu artists, Muslim artists, Buddhist, all of them. Even when I went to Pakistan in 2019, I met a Christian artisan who was creating Quranic pieces in Karachi and selling those pieces. Even though he is not a practicing Muslim, he understands what the text is, he respects it, and he didn't convert. And because he goes into that market that is overpopulated by Muslims, and buyers and sellers are both Muslims, but he also studies what he's doing. And so it's a great example that even in 2019, when I went, there was a Christian, not only one artist, he had a workshop, and there were 12 Christian people that I met who were all doing Quranic calligraphy. So it's an interesting case. And I think if I go more and find more, there will be definitely more. And I think whatever we see in politics, like Pakistan, India, from my own experiences, I have met many Indian people, and I have friends, many Indian people. So the culture is very similar. There is no dichotomy between people, but I think it's all politics that has divided people in, and I think it's universal to other parts of the world too. Thank you.